Have you ever pondered how you are every sign, but yet not quite your sign, and you live in a world full of signs? If so, this video is for you. My name is Stacy Patrice. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to discuss, yes, signs, but also constellations, also how I am learning to walk in my identity with sidereal astrology and why that might matter to you in your walk. So, one of the first things I was conditioned to believe is that I had this identity that was, mapped by the stars and said, this is who you are and this is how you are. And in that identity, I felt comfortable. There was definitely evidence of things, it was the wonderful world of being a Pisces sun, right? And there was so much material there. There was so much there for me that I felt that I had experienced that I could see that other people saw about me. And I just, lived in that world for quite some time in my astrology journey when I was younger. And in that world, I realized that me putting Pisces as my world was vast, not just because it was Pisces, but because Pisces is literally at the end of all the signs. Why is it at the end? Why is Pisces at the end? So, Pisces being at the end felt like a collection, a drawing of every sign before it. And so this accumulation, whether it is through your hero's journey, whether it's through, the zodiac wheel, whether it is through the stage of being newborn all the way to the stage of rebirth, whatever words you want to use, I found it so interesting that I could see all of that through this idea of Pisces. Now, this doesn't sound too, out there. Most people are like, well, yeah, Pisces is extremely spiritual sign. It's very creative, it's very compassionate, very empathetic, very psychic, has all of these things, da 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 da. Da. But it was the learning that I was every sign, not just that Pisces was every sign, but that I was every sign, that I actually could see the Taurian perspective, the Virgo perspective, the Aquarius perspective at some point, is that I could see all of these different personalities, psychological traits. I could see all of these signs within myself. And I thought it was because I was a Pisces. Well, imagine the surprise when you find out you're not a Pisces, that that's not your sign, but you can still see what you saw and you still understand what you saw and you still relate to it as a continuum. So that if I were not a Pisces and I could see every sign, doesn't that mean I am also every sign? Doesn't that mean that I don't have to be at the end of the zodiac? Doesn't that mean Pisces still exists somewhere in my chart? Doesn't that also mean that everybody else that I'm meeting is reflecting a certain aspect of my personality, even if I am just looking at this on a physical basis and looking at personality? Yeah, that Taurus person that I have identified as a Taurus in sidereal, that Taurus person has some traits that I recognize and I understand. I'm in tune and I'm in touch with the collective, the collection of signs. Okay. So this is the signs part. Now, imagine again the surprise coming over to sidereal and saying, well, actually, it's not really about the personality. It's not about who I am as this sign. It's more about what this represents in the universe, and then why I was born in that particular section of expression. Ooh. Why was I born in that section of expression? Not personality traits, not psychological traits. These are windows or portals of ripe opportunity and progression. And I came in on this specific one. Now, the thing that makes this interesting is that, again, I was still only seeing it through the sign. Like, oh, so if it's okay, so if it's not Pisces, it's Aquarius, then that's going to be humanitarian and that's going to be da 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 da. It's like, no, 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 no. Let's look at the universal sign. Let's look at it from a sidereal perspective, Eastern perspective. And let's say it's not about the psychological traits, but that the psychological traits were born from this larger universal perspective. So, in other words, when I think of Aquarius now, I don't think of it as someone's personality. I don't think of it as someone's, you know, character traits. That's also there. You can also relate on that level, but let's go multidimensional. Let's go multidimensional. I know that in Aquarius, there are also different shades of Aquarius. There are also different actions, different motives, different tendencies of energy. And that is different than this is my personality. It's like when you're swimming in the sauce of a particular energy and it's coloring the way that you feel in that water. It's not me being that sign. It's me listening to that influencer and paying attention to the fruit that that influencer grows. It's me also understanding that I am not always exclusively and explicitly under that influence. That in the entire spectrum of possibility of actions, of karmic reward or response, that there is also the ability for me to see myself in all of these colors, should I so activate them. That the universe is full of colors, should I so not narrow my vision to specifically relate on just one. Because the color that I am focusing on is only one aspect of my existence. It doesn't take into account that, what did I say? We are every sign. It doesn't take into account that this is a whole picture or a whole existence or multi-dimensional experience. I can't just think about who I am physically. That's not enough. I can also begin to look at who I am energetically, who I am cosmically, of course, who I am mentally, and then also pay attention to that relationally aspect that so many people miss. They think that they're paying attention to it when they're doing the aspects and they're talking about, well, this is aspecting with this and this is aspecting with that and da da da. But those aspects are relationships. But what are the ones that you can prove, sense, and feel in real time? What is your relationship to the energies that you were born through? What is your relationship? So, in other words, saying Aquarius is not specific enough. Not only because that's not the only energy you were born through, but if you want to even look at that one aspect, it's not big enough for you to get specifics about what you are here doing, what your soul has you on a journey of experiencing. It's not enough to just look at it as a frozen sign. You have to also look at the syrup. Ooh, this feels so good to me because this is how I feel. I feel these planetary positions and, you know, possibilities. It's the feeling like that syrup. You know how syrup is kind of sticky? You know how, like, if you have a bottle of maple syrup and you pour it and you don't fully take your time and bring it back straight and allow for it to be, drip down slowly back into its container, that it'll drip a little trail on the outside of the container. Yeah, a little trail, sticky, a little trail. that reminds you, hey, there's something here that is permeated in your experience. And you might see it here, you might see it here, you might see it there, but specifically, you're going to see it right here. And every time you see this sign, that's what's at work. That's relationally what you're seeing. So now, not only do you start to see that in energy and life and nature in the cosmos, in things, but now you've started to personify it. And now you're like, I'm that, he's that, she's that, they're that, we're that. And you start to lay it over your human experience. And it's so fascinating because before it ever became a part of your human experience, it was already existence. It was already in relationship. And now you now see yourself in relationship with it. But are you peeping the patterns and the signs from the universe, not just an idea of personality from your chart? And I'll give you an example that maybe you can feel that feels really good to me. So, right now, I recognize that when people are having a conversation about the planet we just moved into or the sign we just moved into, I don't listen to it as much as I used to. And one of the reasons is because I like to feel my astrology. I don't want to be told what it is because even that has limitations. I don't want anybody telling me, and you could probably guess what sign, what part of what part of the signs I'm speaking from, but I don't want to be told what it is. I want to feel it. And I don't mean feel it like punishment or hardship. No, no, no. I want to sense what's at play before giving it a name. See, my entire life, and especially in my teaching of soul awareness and consciousness and living, I've always known what something was. Like I just know it. It didn't have a name. I just know it. I know it by feeling. I know it by cycle. I know it by energy, by action. I may also know it through experience, but I know it. And even if I've never physically experienced it, I know it. I can feel it. So that feeling may not be attached to said knowledge, said transcript, said other forms of formalized knowing. But that feeling is 100% spot on because I don't disconnect from my feeling. I don't disconnect from my sensitivity, which then says I have the ability to tap into what I'm feeling as a form of knowing. Sound familiar? Tap into my feeling as a form of knowing and leave the words and the theory and the idea second. So some people say you have to understand a thing or know a thing to undo a thing, like the ropes to know and the ropes, you know certain ropes. You're like, okay, I know what this is because I studied it, right? And now I can just be on autopilot and I can just feel it. I'm familiar enough with it to know that I don't need to know what everyone else calls, what everyone else experiences it as in order to know it for myself on my own terms in my own way. And some of you, I imagine, go through this as well, where your astrology is a big portion of study and knowledge and learning of relationships and all of these things. And then there's that other part. There's that other part that you have a relationship with that you didn't necessarily explicitly study. And I know a couple of you watching this are like, right, intuition, intuition. Let's go a little bit deeper than that. Intuition, yes. On the surface, let's call it intuition. I'm going to go a bit deeper and I'm going to say remembering. I'm going to say it's, of course, coming from somewhere, somewhere specific. It's remembering. So, what if you are remembering not just being born under this particular configuration and portal of the sky at the time of your birth, but what if I told you you also remember other configurations, other cycles, other patterns, and that when you finally bump into one, you are having deja vu because you're like, wait, hold on. This is so familiar. I so remember this. I've been here before. I know this surrounding. This is looping. Didn't I just see this? And this is the way we remember. Think about when you're studying something and you're trying to remember, you're trying to get ready for this test. You're trying to remember, okay, I go through this, okay, I got to go over this again until I can remember it. And what are you doing? Repetition. And what are you creating? Relationships. So when you see one thing, you remember the other thing. And then how is that forming in your head? In order, it's organizing through discipline. And then what is going on that's helping you understand? You're laser focused in not on the entire subject because the test is not on the entire subject. It's just on the specific part that you have to know in order for you to master what's being asked of you. Mm, mm, mm. hmm This is how this all starts to come together. Some of you are using literature and books and authorship to give you language, which is beautiful because we do have to converse and communicate. But some of you, especially if you've been doing this for a while, you are remembering, honey. You are remembering the relationships through your own experience in different expanses of time that you do not have the language to describe how you remember. Maybe your language extent is ancestral, soul, remembered. And that's about as far as that gets because this knowledge didn't come just because someone wrote it in a book, just because someone made a video. The knowledge and the knowing that you have came because it clicked. It's in socket with something else that has already happened that you have caught wind of, at least on a subconscious level. So when I say I like to feel my planets, I like to feel the transits, I like to feel my memory resurface about how I am every sign and not my sign, but paying close attention to the signs. That's what I'm talking about. It's relationship. It's the fact that it's always happening. And we've just created graphs and charts and symbols to illustrate it. But again, just because an artist picks up a canvas and illustrates something or draws something doesn't make their depiction the thing that it is. The thing that it is what you can recall and you can remember, and you put that part that you remember into your drawing. But that doesn't mean that that's all there is. So don't limit yourself to just certain words. Use those as training wheels, use those as guides to kind of steer you back into the direction of memory because your memory is vast. Your constellations are rich, and you got to honor that that was there before anyone ever fully personified them. It was there. And somebody had to make those connections, not just mathematically, but someone had to forge those connections of cosmos, nature, human nature, or netter. Mm, 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 That is why I say it is divine. It's a divine art. It goes so much deeper than signs, personality. These are windows, windows like your eyes, windows to the soul, windows that you enter into at opportune moments. What windows were open at the time of your birth? Ooh, what windows were open at the time of your birth? Talk about that co-conspiring. What windows were open at the time of your birth? And guess what? What will you do when they are open again? Hmm, syrup. From the tree sap to your touch, syrup. It's the transformation of a thing. It's how life evolves. What will you do when that window opens again? And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I will not be explaining any further. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you, if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, keep studying, keep learning. I'm opening up another cycle of To the East starting in April. I do hope that you stay subscribed and that you drop your email address at stacypatrice.com so I can let you know exactly when registration for that opens. Because we got to go a little deeper. It's important to understand things from people who are not bound in the book, but also reference the book, who have read the book, but are not bound by it. Because if we're having this human experience, it's for a reason. It's for a reason. And having it means that I get to stack these layers and put them together in order to see what it is that's actually communicating through the layers. We up here in the cosmos, y'all. We up here in it. We not separated from it. We're in it. So being in it means you will do what with that information? How will you integrate what you know? Not just what you learned, what you saw, what you read, what they said, what you know. How will you use your signs to remember, to know when that window is open and when it will close? How will you chart the transits that matter to you as opposed to, yep, this is a transit, this is where we're going? Okay. Maybe some of us are going there, but when you start to know the specifics, it doesn't have the same effect as just thinking that every single transit impacts everyone exceptionally. Some of those transits you will not feel. You will not feel. And I'm saying that as like on multiple levels. You will not feel some of those transits. And it's not important to spend a lot of time on them. You may feel them through other people's conditioning of them. Oh, I heard that we're going here, so now I'm thinking about this. But you may not feel those transits. And some of them I hope you don't feel. Same here. I hope you don't feel them. So I'm going to pause here for today. I'm going to pause here for today. I just want you to chew on that. You probably already digested it. I just want you to chew on that as long as you possibly can. If it doesn't make sense, meditate, come back. See what you can hear. Or one of my favorite things to do on certain days is to turn on one of these videos and keep my eyes closed throughout listening to the video and just hear what I hear without any of my senses doing any work for me. Yeah, like a podcast. Just do nothing while the podcast is on. Don't be multitasking. Just listen to the podcast. I hope this serves you in some way. If it does, let me know in the comments. If you're unsure or if you had a certain memory yourself, let me know in the comments. These long form videos are not for the sake of me breaking down a book to you and telling you the technical math. There are people for that. I'm always going to take you on a journey that allows you just enough time in the course of a video to feel something different happening, some kind of shift, some kind of recognition, remembering, recognition. That's what I'm here for. And thank you so much for watching, subscribing, listening, liking, sharing, and of course, commenting. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Pay attention to the signs, not just your sign. Peace.